Kenmare started in Mozambique in 1987, looking for heavy sands in a place called Congolone, which is about 70 kilometers north of where we are mining currently.
When we arrived in Mozambique, Mozambique was in a fairly difficult situation. The parties in Mozambique, Frelimo and Renamo, commenced a civil war which extended from 1984 through to 1993.
So this war of destabilization, as we called it, was the one that destroyed many of the infrastructure with the support of apartheid South Africa.
Mozambique only came out of its civil war in 1992, first democratic elections in 1994, and really it was still considered to be a bit of an unknown quantity. There were no big projects in the north of Mozambique. There had been no significant mining development anywhere in the country since independence.
It was a meaningful step in terms of the development of the North, that this project got financed, got underway, and demonstrated that you could have major industrial development in northern Mozambique.
The MoMA project actually comprises about 8 different ore bodies and stretches about 200 kilometers along the coast, north to south.
The local people had no education, no understanding of any industrial situation ever before, because they never experienced it. And so I was worried that they wouldn't even be able to get jobs. We were conscious that this mine is going to have some effect on these local people. You know, you have to sort of live with yourself as well, and I wanted to be able to come back to the area regularly and feel good that the effect that we were having was a positive effect on their lives, not a negative effect. We started a not-for-profit development organization called Kenmare. Its objective was to enhance the capacity of the local community to benefit from the presence of the mining operation in their vicinity. There's a community liaison department that's run by a lady called Regina Makua. Regina knows every single one of these local people. She's a very popular person and she spends her time out in the community.
Kenmare is the Kenmare Development Association that was founded back in 2004 by the Board of Directors of Kenmare Resources as an association that will implement the corporate social responsibility and support the development of the communities that surround the mine.
My name is Kaitana Murani. I'm 42 years old. I started working for Kenmare last year, sometime in February. There was actually an agreement that was signed between Kenmare and the government. That memorandum basically talks about 2 items. The first item is got to do with the number of expatriates that you have in the company. So it means then if you've got too many expatriates, you need to reduce them and achieve those figures. Basically, I'm talking about having a figure of 8% of expatriates. The rest of employees, they need to be Mozambicans. The second side to it is the training itself. It doesn't happen just replacing expatriates. You need to train them. So there's a couple of programs that have been agreed as well that we need to put in place. At the moment, I've got South Africans and Zimbabweans basically playing that role of artisans in the company. And as part of the localization, I need to replace these people. For me to be able to replace them, I need to have produced my own artisans.
Kenmare has adopted local employment policies, specifically looking at unskilled people that live in this area. We have examples, very great examples of local people that have had the opportunity to work for the mine and actually grow in their career. One of the persons that I could mention is Abdul Abakar. He is now working as a supervisor and he started as an assistant.
A Kenmare eu comecei a trabalhar como ajudante da sonda, como um geólogo com a lista de outro Broen. Por causa do meu lado, eu passei lá primeiro como sondador e, por sua vez, e quando vi que a Kenmare já está desenvolvido, então a Kenmare passou-me para poder dirigir na área do campo, eu como supervisor da pessoa que eu trabalho com ele lá no campo.
Just to mention examples and show you that it's possible to actually invest in the local people. Augusto Sen is another example, not just from the local community, but from Moma town, which is still the area within the project.
Augusto is a local guy, and he started here as an assistant. Today, Augusto is a supervisor.
Meu nome é o Sen Augusto. Sou natural deste distrito, sou de Moma, distrito de Moma. Quando eu me juntei à empresa Kenmare em 2007, trabalhei na Mobile Workshop. A empresa confiou em mim. Felizmente consegui ser promovido para supervisor e eu acho que foi graças ao meu empenho. Sempre redobrei esforços para mostrar o meu melhor no local de trabalho.
Now in 2013, we've already had 54 Mozambicans being promoted. So, Augusto is one case, a very successful case, yes, but you've got a couple of these cases across the plant. In January 2012, you had only expatriate managers. Today, you've got 4 managers who are Mozambicans.
I think it's important to remember that when we arrived, there was no other industry in northern Mozambique whatsoever. The area was in a grip of absolute poverty, and consequently, the education system had completely broken down.
The schools were in very bad shape throughout the country. The teachers were too scared to operate in the bush areas, so it was very difficult to get teachers into the schools in the early days.
Da vida de Renamo a Frelimo, já do meu vejo que eu rego eu habito na terra, vejo que já mudou outra coisa. Outra coisa, a empresa de Kenmare faz-me junto eu com a minha comunidade, porque até que eles, né, já construíram as cinco aulas das escolas. Daqui dizem que não se encontra o trabalho. Só o povo comunitário tem que jurar assim.
Since Kenmare started here, everyone wants to work for the mine, but unfortunately the mine cannot employ everyone. First, because there are limited skills and all of that, but as the mine is investing in educating the local communities, that will improve the quality of the employees that Kenmare will have for the future.
Education will be a major focus in the next coming 3 years. Previously, for obvious reasons, Kenmare has focused on infrastructure development, so building schools, but not so much on building the quality of education.
As salas que nós tínhamos lá, pequena chuva, tínhamos problema de os nossos papéis ficavam molhados e as crianças às vezes não tinham vontade de ir à escola porque já as salas eram feias mesmo, já parece que era um lugar onde viviam cabritos. Mas quando aqui entramos, as crianças têm vontade de ir à escola. Eu tenho certeza que a partir dos nossos miúdos, deles vão trabalhar na Kenmare.
We creating conditions for the locals to actually get an opportunity for capacity building. So we will not need to bring lots of people from outside for certain jobs.
We did a baseline environmental assessment, and one of the key factors in that was that 93% of all families did not have food security. And food security in that sense is defined as not knowing what they're going to eat tomorrow.
In 2004, we began a construction project for the existing operation. And at the outset, we recognised the need to provide an opportunity for the communities to benefit from the mine when it was up and running. So the association looked at a number of opportunities in terms of income generation projects.
Principally, we want to support those businesses that can supply products to the mine so they have a ready market and we can leverage the demand of the mine to empower them. The most successful projects that we've had going are sewing projects in which associations of sewers produce the sample bags for the mine.
We need to provide them the ongoing training that is required for them to successfully run those projects.
Kenmare Csr ani ruhela makina hwala soma khala ni nono rera bahinu ni shukurela ni lele vita nana nina somiha tunane yoke seri bahinte kwa hikabololo itigelo tuli o khalente ko bahuna kilati hiyo nikapoza rura ni ribante gone.
We believe that if we create the capacity in the community to do it themselves, the projects will have success in the long term.
Along with the success of the sewing projects, the association has also facilitated the development of other income-generating projects, such as the horticultural cooperatives and the provision of food produce to the mine.
Chamo-me Alberto Apudala, Mugawa. A Kenmare nos apoiou em alguns instrumentos no início desta associação. Estamos a produzir e vender a cozinha da Kenmare.
The farmers have evolved from a stage whereby they were producing the tomatoes, the carrots and the lettuce that were only produced at the beginning of the project to supply the mine, but now you find all those products also available in the local market and that the local community is also consuming them. So that is what we're aiming for when we set up those projects. We make sure that, yes, there is the mine on one hand, which is the bigger market for the people that benefit from those projects, but still the community must be an alternative market, and that is the only way we will ensure that those projects will be sustainable.
As time goes by, we're expanding the types of projects we do, and we receive proposals from local villagers and we analyse them to see if they're viable, and if they are, we look at giving them finance.
The way we set up those projects, it's all based on community consultation. All the projects that we implement are outlined in our strategic plan. The plan reflects what the needs and the priorities are for each of the villages. All this process is done together in consultation with the community and with their involvement.
Kenmare is fortunate that the mining process doesn't have a significant level of impact on the environment. The way we do that is we deposit the sand, which has no economic value, at the back of the dredge pond. And during the mine process, the fines or the clays are separated out from the rest of the sand, and we are able to concentrate them during the drying process. And once the clays have dried out, we mix it into the top level of the sand and recontour the area. This makes the sand slightly more fertile than it was before because it improves water retention qualities. We have a nursery where we grow various crops, and we use this nursery to reseed the area that's been mined, and after a suitable period of time we get it tested to show that it is no worse off, and in most cases better in terms of fertility than it was before.
What you're seeing here behind is the Kenmare nursery. We prepare seedlings that are then used for the trials that are done at areas that have been mined. We don't want just to put back what existed, but also try to improve. So it's part of the improvement of what existed before and teaching and training the community.
The soils here in this area are generally poor in nutrient value before rehabilitation, before mining. So what we have had to do in some cases is to try to raise the nutrient value from the background levels to something higher than that.
As part of the whole rehabilitation process, handing back of rehabilitated land is a process that is done in strict collaboration with the district government, but also with the local communities.
como fizeram as minas, acabaram e taparam tudo. E ele, chamamos nós para ir entregar, quando nós queremos fazer uma coisa, deixa-me semear, plantar qualquer coisa da mandioca, feijão, as comidas que comem os povos, a comunidade. Ele começou a entregar, até agora.
The needs of the community are changing. They'd rather be educated and they'd rather be able to provide for and educate their children. And I think that that's sort of what's gradually developing. And I sort of think the legacy is what's happening now as opposed to what we leave at the end. And really it's the continued development of people there into having longer, healthier, more satisfied lives and become greater participants in the world that they live in.